Well, that was a kind of surprising episode, especially since I actually am not so annoyed by a lot of things this time. I am kind of annoyed by one thing, but after listening to Lydia's exit interview with Rob Sesternino, I'm starting to think that actually we're not going to be able to get a firm answer because I'll have to jump into that now since I've teased it to that large extent. I was kind of confused as to how the votes seemed to switch to Lydia like really quickly because there really wasn't that much happening in the episode from what I remember other than her making a remark in her confessional, though admittedly I could have missed a remark that she made to somebody else because I was doing a little bit of switching tabs while I was watching this episode about that she wanted to break up the huge alliance, and then you had Omer trying to work some magic, even though he doesn't have a vote, which is contrary to what he said earlier. Oh, I don't have a vote, so I'm just going to shut it. But maybe that's literally all there was, and sometimes that could be enough, because this group, it's not that they're open with each other, it's just that they're willing to work with a lot of people. This is a really fluid group because, as I've said, I'm not really rooting for anyone hugely, and I don't really dislike anybody that much, to be honest. Like, what am I going to do? Complain about Marianne because she's talking a lot? Or if I was in Jonathan's position, I'd be complaining about it. But as a viewer, that's not enough to really do anything. Tori causing problems by always being in the crosshairs every chance there's an opportunity for that to happen. We've seen this happen before. People survive round after round after round until finally they go. Although occasionally somebody does get like right up to the end, but then they have problems, huh? That's not enough. So yeah, this people's dynamics, it's rather interesting. Now, yes, you really do want somebody to truly root for above everyone else, but who knows? Maybe we have a group of people where it's just a little more even in terms of the possibility of winning, even though I think that there are a few people that have no shot at winning, which I'll get to at the end of this video, hopefully. Okay, so, rewinding the tape, Green comes back from Tribal, and Chanel tells Mike immediately that she was the one that flipped the vote, even though that wouldn't have saved her, and as I kind of predicted, it just gets her even more hot water, just madness. Everyone goes to the merge challenge, but we get the tease from Jeff that there's two big differences, and that he's going to subtly tell them about the twist this time, and that there's an option for people to take the person's place at exile. And I really approve of those changes because it's way less of a surprise, especially since Lydia admitted that several people were predicting that Rocksroy would have the ability to change everything, and it was stated that multiple people did actually, contrary to what the edit showed, debate about whether or not that they should go. Now, they chose not to for a myriad of reasons, but between all that and the different group dynamics of this this group, ha ha ha, I'm not bothered by the twist this time because as I was being reminded as to who would be safe if Rocksroy would smash the Hourglass and who would be vulnerable, I was like, ooh. Actually, from my perspective, if he smashes it, it's gonna be a lot more interesting if he does that, and also, him smashing it does actually save more of his allies, even though he never had a firm alliance with anyone in his tribe. And you gotta remember, the last time Blue went to Tribal, Rocksroy was actually in the minority voting, albeit he kind of made it obvious that he would be voting in the minority, so He does have that going for him, but like when Erica smashed it last season, granted she didn't have the greatest bond with the people in her tribe, but I was kind of bummed that more people from her tribe would be vulnerable versus safe, which is how the original dynamic was going. This time, though, just between everything that I've just been saying, yeah, the hourglass twist doesn't bother me nearly as much this time. It's now of, I just wish that it hadn't been included, even though I do think it actually made things more interesting this time. And it really is interesting to see how the casts are totally different, because season 41, most of them are anti the twist, whereas this time everyone's like, okay, it happened. We deal with it. So it's going to be interesting to see if they continue it, although I think fan perception is generally against it, and I'm kind of that same way. But I don't think I need to really explain why. I think enough people have done that. So, talking about the actual challenge, I was kind of hoping that Blue would win, but that was only because they established a lead. So in my mind, it would just be kind of sad if they lost it, and they lost a bit of it. But as it turns out, they were never really in danger of losing on that puzzle. The other tribe, they didn't even get halfway, and you only get as far as they did in the puzzle because they know exactly what the logo looks like. It's on the buff, and it's on most of the flags. Right. Although I was a little bit bummed that Tori didn't have the decision-making, because I really would have loved to have seen what she would have done, even though, of course, it stands to reason that just about everyone is going to break the thing now, although I do think Roxroy could have worked with the group that wasn't safe, but yeah, as I said for last season's review, at least 95% of the time, they're going to break it, but as I think Lydia pointed out, she actually thought that Roxroy had immunity anyway, so if the person already has immunity, maybe that's how they can change it now. Okay. Maybe that's how. Okay. So, now that we're done with that bit, history reverses itself, and those who were previously safe are now not safe, but then Tori is able to pull the competition win out of her butt, and it was kind of interesting how it seemed like there was a little bit of encouragement for her from the players that were sitting on the side, albeit I don't remember who was encouraging her, but yeah, had she not won that, she would have gone 100%, unless she got lucky with a shot in the dark, but I seem to recall from last season, the amount of papers would have increased due to the start of the merge, so, right. But then, seeing how all these people were interacting and then throwing out possibilities, especially since all of the people that were on the outs, Roxroy, Chanel, Tori, and Marianne were either safe or rather unlikely to be booted, it definitely caused a strange dynamic, but here's something that I don't think many people noticed at first. Owing to the fact that Tori won immunity and Roxroy flipped the script, everyone from Blue was safe, and other than and if you don't count Lydia, the only people that were vulnerable were the people from the Orange tribe. Yeah, even though as it turns out, multiple people from the Orange tribe were part of the big alliance, and even then, I think some of the people that didn't vote for Lydia were nonetheless sort of part of it, because Mike, he didn't vote for Lydia, but I honestly would not be too surprised if he's going to be roped to being an affiliate of the alliance, albeit if he is an affiliate of that alliance, then there's not that many people left, because if I recall correctly, there was 7 votes for Lydia, which means that there's 4 people, then if you get Mike, then it's suddenly 8 to 3. Yeah, so that would leave, like, what, Marianne, Lindsay, and somebody else on Son of the Big Alliance? Yeah. Right. So that's going to be mighty interesting. And I really did love how we got that group discussion between Hai, Lindsay, and Dre about their amulets, because that's still definitely going to matter, and it really does look like Hai, Dre, and Romeo are sort of starting to rope a pretty big circus in this situation, though Omar, as I mentioned, was able to work some magic here in order to save Jonathan, because for a while there it did look like that this Jonathan would end up in the same situation as Jonathan from David versus Goliath, but we're definitely getting more personality with this Jonathan, so that's good, although I do think that eventually, not the same fate is going to happen to him, but I do think somebody is definitely going to turn on him. Now I know what you're thinking. By default, somebody has to turn. No. What I mean by is get rid of him when you don't necessarily have to get rid of him. There'll still be an obvious target to vote for besides him. So you get what I mean? I do think a blind side is in order for him. We'll see. Whew. I think that's really all that needs to be said about this episode. I might have missed like an important conversation topic in there, but the topic that I still have to discuss for this review is going to be more important, I think, than that. So Lydia going, I was definitely a little surprised by it, but hey, it's a big group. Dynamics are definitely different than what we've seen in the last couple of seasons, from my perspective, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what this cast has to offer. So now, top picks. So initially, I didn't think I'd be doing top picks, but now I think I'm going to. We'll see if my streak officially gets broken since I've disavowed my Kagayan top picks, because I really only did the Kagayan top picks because in Blood vs. Water I didn't do top picks, but every season that I've been as confused with the cast as I was with Kagayan, I haven't done top picks, so yeah, that wasn't something that I should have done with Kagayan, but this time I think I'm going to. So the 2 more obvious picks in my mind, I'm going to go with Dre. That one's kind of obvious. Then I'm going to go with Romeo. Not as obvious, but he's got a good vibe going on with many people, and there's a reason I'm not saying someone else's name, because my 3rd pick, which is going to be a lot more random, is actually going to be Omer. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why am I not putting Hai on there? A few reasons. One, he's the only person from the Green Tribe that has a chance of winning this game, but he's obvious. Dre and Romeo, one of them I think is going to be able to slip through the ranks, and then Omer, he isn't as obvious. Yes, he was able to work magic in this episode, but he's not always going to be able to do that if you ask me. And all 4 of the people from that Orange Tribe stick it together? I don't really see that happening, to be honest with you. Well, yes, they have half of them in there, and they do have some sway over each other, but I don't know, it just seems a little too unlikely. Although, granted, I wasn't expecting as many people from the Blue Tribe to get as far as they did last season, so maybe I'll be proven wrong here. Who knows? Because you gotta remember that Orange Tribe, like with the Blue, last time they only lost 1 challenge, but they ended up having to lose 2 people. Actually, no, they lost 2 challenges, but that first challenge only 1 tribe could win. Right, so does that really count? I don't know. Right, but I really do think he's going to be voted out. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't really see that. And then comparing Omar to the other people in his tribe, Marianne, unless she changes her personality, can't see her winning this. Jonathan, as I said, I think he's going to get blindsided. And then Lindsay, okay, she definitely has potential to help with things. She does, but I feel like that if she was going to have a bigger impact, there'd be something more going on. Before you mention Erica, she was talked about multiple times last season at this point, but we didn't see her do anything. So we're missing that element. Because there's definitely a few people out there who will be confused as to who Lindsay is. I was for a few episodes. So when you look at all that, huh? So yeah, those are my top picks. And remember, for my streak to continue, a top pick doesn't have to win the game. They just have to get to the end. Although I did have a streak of top picks winning the game from Redemption Island to Caramel, but that's really not that impressive because in every single one of those seasons, once the merge started, the tribes divided into two groups, and I always happened to support the group that came out on top. So, yeah, that's not that impressive, is it? Alright, see ya.